Imagine an EV battery that gives you more range, doesn't catch fire easily, and barely wears out after years of fast charging. Sounds like marketing, right? Solid state batteries are sold as that magic fix. But are they really the game changer or just a shiny buzz? Let's talk about what's actually inside these things. What's real, what's hype, and when you might actually see one under your car floor, not just in a press release. Right now, the battery in most EVs is like a tiny swimming pool of liquid with metal plates dunked in it. That liquid is the electrolyte. It lets lithium ions move between the two sides while electrons go through your motor and make the car move. In solid state battery, we rip out that flammable liquid and replace it with a solid layer. Think of it like swapping water in a pool for a solid block of glass that still lets ions move through it. That main idea is simple. A solid electrolyte that is safer can handle higher voltage and lets you cram more energy into the same box. On paper, that means smaller packs, more range, and fewer fire headlines. Great story, but the devil is in the details between paper and parking lot. There are three big promises. First, energy density. With a solid electrolyte, you can pair it with metal lithium anode instead of a chunky graphite we use today. That can bump energy density by something like 30 to 80% compared to today's packs, depending on the chemistry and design. Translate that into real life and you get either more range for the same pack weight or the same range with a much lighter, smaller pack. Second, safety. Liquid electrolytes are usually flammable and can feel thermal runaway if something goes wrong. A solid layer doesn't leak, doesn't slush around, and many solid materials are far more stable at high temperatures. If a cell gets punctured, there's less fuel for a fire. It doesn't make batteries magic or indestructible, but it closes one big failure door. Third, fast charging and life. A well-designed solid-state system should handle higher current and higher voltage without growing as many side reactions at the electrode. That means less damage per charge and more cycles before the pack fades. In theory, you can slam more power in, more often with less aging. So on the whiteboard, it looks like this. More range, safer, faster charging, longer life. That's why every slide deck calls it a revolution. Here's the ugly part no one likes putting in the marketing. Making ions move through a solid is a lot harder than through a liquid, especially when that solid is bumpy, cracked, or not in perfect contact with the electrodes. Think about pushing people through a narrow hallway versus through an open field. Liquids are the open field, solids are the halfway. If there's any crack, gap, or rough spot, the ions don't move nicely. That shows up as high resistance, lost power, and heat. Then you have the dendrites. These are lithium. These are little lithium needles that can grow from one side to the other side when you charge, especially if the current is high or the design is not perfect. Even with a solid layer, if those needles manage to punch through, you can get a short circuit. So we're not instantly free from the problem. You also have the manufacturing nightmare. Today's EV battery lines are built around slurry coated foil and liquid electrolyte. Solid state lines need new materials, new ways to press and center those solids, new bonding techniques, and extremely clean contact between layers. You can make a few beautiful cells in the lab. It's a very different game to make millions of them per year for cars that need to work in Canada winters and Dubai summers. Finally, temperature. A lot of solid electrolytes move ions well at warm temperatures but get sluggish when cold. So that fast charge in 10 minutes claim might be true at 40 degrees centigrade, but not at the frozen charging stations in January. The pack will need heating systems and smart controls, just like today's packs, but turned into an even narrower comfort zone. Another thing that confuses people is that solid state isn't one single technology. It's a basket of different approaches. Some use ceramic-like materials, very stiff and fragile, with great ionic conductivity, but hard mechanical behavior. Others use polymers that are softer and more flexible, but not as conductive at low temperatures. Some companies mix both and build hybrid solid liquid systems, not fully solid, but more stable than pure liquid. So when you see headlines like company X will ship solid state batteries by 2027, 2028, you have to ask which type, what voltage, what cycle life, at what temperature ranges, in which kind of vehicle. A small premium sports car that costs a fortune and only needs a tiny pack is a very different problem than a cheap mass market hatchback or a delivery van that runs all year and gets beat to death. Early solid state packs will probably land in expensive or specialized vehicles first, where people can pay for the technology and accept some limits. Let's imagine a solid state actually delivers a 40% boost in energy density at pack level with a decent cycle life and safe behavior. For a compact EV that currently gets 400 kilometers of range, you suddenly have choices. You can push range up to 550 to 600 kilometers, which kills almost all range anxiety for normal drivers. Or you can keep 400 kilometers, shrink the pack, save weight, free up space, and maybe even drop cost once manufacturing scales. Lighter cars also mean better handling and efficiency, so it feeds on itself. Charging could get closer to the gas station experience, not 5 minutes. Let's be honest, but maybe 10 to 15 minutes to get from 10 to 80% without wrecking the pack. For highway trips, that's a coffee and bathroom stop, not a go sit in the car park and scroll for a half an hour. On the safety side, emergency services worry less about long burning pack fires, and automakers can design thinner packs without as much armor. That opens new body shapes and more flexible platforms. So, yes, if the technology hits its targets, it does feel like a step change, not a tiny upgrade. Solid state doesn't magically fix everything. Here's a twist that almost no headline mentioned. Even with a perfect solid state cell, you still need a very smart BMS and pack design. You'll still have to worry about temperature control. You'll still you'll still need careful current limits during fast charge and regenerative braking. You still have to handle self imbalance, sensor failures, contactor issues, and pack isolation. You still need to protect against short circuits and runaway faults. In fact, the BMS might need to be even smarter because the window between works great and too cold and too hot can be very narrow. And the pack will likely be more expensive to repair, so you really don't want to mess it up with bad charging strategies. So if someone tells you once solid state arrives, the BMS won't matter, that's nonsense. The brain becomes more important, not less. So, is this a real game changer? Here's the honest answer. Yes, solid state can be a game changer in the sense that it pushes the limits of range, safety, and fast charging much further than most current chemistries. It can make EVs feel less like tech products you nurse and more like normal cars that just go and go. But no, it's not a magic switch that flips everything overnight. First, you will see it in small volumes, high end models, maybe in Japan, Korea, China, then slowly in the rest of the world. There will be teething problems, cost, yields, unexpected aging modes, cold weather behavior. It will take years to shake those out. Think of it not as tomorrow everything changes, but as over the next decade, we get a new generation of packs that are lighter, safer, and more robust. It's evolution with big push, not a one-day revolution. And when that happens, the people who understand how these packs work, how the BMS keeps them safe, and how to read their data will be the ones building and debugging the real cars, not just sharing memes about solid state finally came. If you want to be one of those people and not just a spectator, hit the BMS course link in the description. Thank you.